So to be allowed to choose, I think I would have gone absolutely nuts had I been asked to go off work and not have this normality in my life. So it was wonderful to be put in the driver's seat.
Hello and welcome back here at Feeling Terrific. Today I have a very special guest with me, Jutta Brench-Kremer. And the reason why this guest or why Jutta is so special to me is because since I joined ServiceNow back in October 21, she was still my mentor or is still my mentor. And thank you for that, Jutta. I mean, I can say that without you, it wouldn't have been the same journey. And when I say journey, it's indeed a journey, and a journey with every perspective that could be possible. So thank you for guiding me during this time. And I'm still happy that I have you with me as a colleague, of course. But I don't want to take all of it away. Maybe you can give us a short intro about yourself. So who are you?
Absolutely. So yes, my journey wouldn't have been the same either without you. So Dito. Who am I? Where do I start? Is a very good question. Born and raised in Germany, but I've lived in England. It's coming up to 20 years this year. On Thursday, it will be 20 years, and they have absolutely flown by. It is a good question. So who am I? Yes, I'm German, but I'm not. Half of my life I've been in England. In Germany, I get told, "Oh, you're very English." In England, it's sometimes the other way around. Christian, brain freeze.
Who are you?
That's a very, very good question. I don't think it can be answered in just one aspect. So maybe let's kick off privately. I am German, but I've lived for the last 20 years in England. I also had a brief spell in Luxembourg and France, but the bulk really has been in England. So in Germany, sometimes I get asked where I have learned German, and I'm absolutely sure my German is still perfectly fluent. In England,
I can argue with that.
In England, yes, I am German. So it's this funny personality of sometimes feeling neither goose nor gander, like what is actually my nationality or what is my identity?
But does it matter?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. And I suppose it opens a different way of reflecting and viewing how I'm perceived, how I perceive the world. So living in a different country, or when I started living in different countries, 3 in total, it definitely totally kicked me out of my comfort zone and definitely changed my way of thinking. So no, it doesn't really matter. You're quite right.
And how did this experience, so having quite an international background, I would say, and also different experiences and perspectives, and also, as you mentioned, it has a positive impact on being self-aware, self-reflect, and so on. What would you say? What kind of impact does it have to your job?
It definitely has made me very open-minded, very understanding. I would say very empathetic. I suppose it also goes back further. So having grown up in a family where my parents could have been my grandparents at the time, now it's perfectly normal to have your children when you're kind of late 30s, early 40s. It wasn't then. No one had a clue about university, for instance. I was the first one going, so no one could help me. And then also no one really had lived abroad. So, again, sort yourself out type of thing. So how does it impact my job? I think it makes me pretty empathetic towards all sorts of situations and, everything that can happen in a human life.
Yeah. I remember when when we first had a conversation or first interaction at ServiceNow, it was, if I remember correctly, it was very empathetic, to be honest. I didn't expect that. Maybe there's also a prejudice, right? But when I had a look at your LinkedIn profile, so basically kind of your professional background, I wasn't expecting that. So it was indeed a positive surprise. And there's no judgment, right? But yeah, just an objective view based on prejudices. and I'm happy that I'm also self-reflected and thought, okay, maybe I was thinking in the wrong direction, right? So it triggered also something with me. I'm wondering, so you're with ServiceNow now for 4.5 years plus minus, right? So still within the TA function. So you are being a recruiter for a very long time. Currently, also you are kind of a team lead and regional lead. What we've just discovered about you, so the international background and so forth. Yes, okay, open-minded, empathetic, and so forth. How or what impact does it have as you are trying to find your leadership style? What would you say?
Yes, coming back to the empathy, massive aspect. I know what it's like when one is confronted with the opposite of empathy and not felt at home or felt comfortable. So that is, I would say that is the focus of my leadership style, and I hope that's materializing. But I strongly believe one gets the best out of people when they feel comfortable, they feel trusted, they feel appreciated, they feel challenged, based on a trusted basis. So yeah, the empathy will creep in, or will be the basis of it all. And then it is possible looking at our team at ServiceNow. So I'm leading the team and the region, the central region, which is the German-speaking countries and Eastern Europe. What we have achieved there, that is based off making people motivated. And then they want to achieve. I don't have to necessarily kick them. Yes, I might have to remind them, but it's a joy to observe people becoming successful because they feel motivated, and me being part of that. That's incredibly rewarding.
Yeah, I still do remember 1 or 2 reminders from you, so thank you for that as well. I really appreciate it. So would you agree with what if I would say that we could summarize it also with the word empowerment?
Yes, yeah. Because if one thinks of what is the opposite is micromanagement, and then people are not empowered. They don't learn to utilize their own strengths, their own brain, basically, their own capabilities. So yeah, empowerment is a beautiful thing because it basically means I can delegate. Things are in capable hands. Things are in motivated hands, but it also stretches the team members and allows them different experiences.
Do you have an example for us where you received empowerment and what impact did it have?
Yeah. Well, me personally, I absolutely love being thrown in at the deep end and trusted that I can deal with it. So whenever that happened, take for instance when I was hired at ServiceNow, and it was like, well, we're building talent acquisition in the central region. Sort it out. And I thought, I had moments when I thought, what did I get myself into? But then I was trusted to build it. And that is the biggest joy. Or taking the team, for instance, now. We're pretty much, yes, we have targets, there are expectations, but we are left to do the best we can. And that is a wonderful sense of empowerment to pass that on.
Yeah. How would you describe leadership, for example, when it comes to you, when you started at ServiceNow? And how would you describe leadership you are receiving nowadays? Have something that changed? If something has changed, what? Especially what impact did it have on you? So I mean, maybe from a different perspective. So when I think about personal development, right? Obviously, you self-reflect, you are self-aware ideally, and then you have this personal development path, the learning opportunities, as you would like to call them, right? When it comes to leadership, evolves leadership as well as you develop, or is this something separate? So is a leadership style there and it stands for the next 30 years, or does the leader also have to adapt to your personal development?
You mean a leader I'm reporting into, for instance?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be, for example, now within ServiceNow, right? So the thing is, when you're reporting into someone, as you develop, does this person has also adapt their leadership style or their style, how they are leading you? Or is this something separate?
Yeah. No, I think it goes definitely hand in hand, because as one grows up in one's career, the leadership will have to change. Otherwise, there's a standstill. So a person can take someone from A to B, but maybe not from B to C. Or the leader changes accordingly. There's a wonderful training I've done once upon a time, situational leadership, and that is that is really adapting to the needs of the person who's led. So yes, absolutely, the leadership will have to evolve, because if you think a job beginner needs something totally different in comparison to a seasoned professional, for instance.
Yeah. Maybe let's have a different look now at situational leadership, besides personal development, right? So there was a time where you needed situational leadership, and it was when you had cancer. How or what do you think, what was the importance of leadership at that time for you specifically?
Yeah. Here it comes again. Empathy. I remember my manager at the time said, whoa, you tell me what you want to do. Do you want to go off work? Do you want to continue? Basically, you decide what makes you feel most comfortable. And that was wonderful, because at the time, I had no idea what I wanted, but I wanted some normality. So to be allowed to choose, I think I would have gone absolutely nuts had I been asked to go off work and not have this normality in my life. So it was wonderful to be put in the driver's seat. So
basically, in a situation where you not have full control, at least some control.
Yeah, so situational leadership is a seasoned professional might get into a situation which takes that person out of their comfort zone. So a different leadership style is necessary. You've got motivation and capability, basically. And it doesn't matter where you stand in your career. You can have high motivation, but you don't really know what to do or how to do the job. Or you have low motivation, but you know how to do the job. You get bored. So that's basically situational leadership. It's probably a bit hard to reflect that on the cancer situation.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Maybe what I was thinking of is, so besides the definition of situational leadership, right? So for example, I would have taken something like, okay, situational leadership is someone who is able to adapt to certain situations of the person being in a situation, right? So maybe not necessarily where the people is within his or her personal journey from a career perspective, but also when it comes, as for example, in your case, with cancer, right? So it could have also been the case that the manager would have been kind of, yeah, not that it was, but kind of micromanaging, and then not adapting his or her style to your situation. So there again, it comes with empathy, right? What you mentioned.
Yeah. Let's then call it only leadership, because the situation might be misleading. Yeah, I mean, I was treated like a normal employee, but I had freedom. So I could go off and go to a meditation class in the morning, for instance, or take myself for a walk if I just, had enough, or finish earlier, whatever. So I had that freedom, which again was absolutely wonderful because it was just what I needed at the time.
What impact did this feeling of being treated as a human being have?
It made me feel strong. My manager at the time said to me, and I will never forget, "You don't know how strong you are." And I thought, hey, if you think I don't know how strong I am, clearly, well, I must be very strong. And it was incredibly, coming back to empowering, but also very, very encouraging. And it was also the knowledge that I could call that manager whenever. And he would have had an open mind. It was Stuart Rowland at the time. What was also lovely about how ServiceNow dealt with it, and I'm totally in love with the culture. Yes, I wanted people to know, because I didn't want suddenly to drop off and no one knew where Jutta was. So the team knew, and eventually the stakeholders knew as well, and the rest of the leadership. How many people got in touch and said, hey, I was there as well, or I have someone in my family or friend circle who has or had it. And it was lovely to have this human touch of, yes, I could cry with my colleagues. I could laugh with my colleagues. I could basically go through the experience with my colleagues, and I didn't feel I had to hide it. And I didn't want to, quite frankly, but the way it was taken and handled was just like being with friends, family. I felt very protected and very safe, encouraged, cared for, genuinely cared for.
I imagine when life is going as planned, I mean, most of the time it doesn't go like planned, but just for just for imagination, so that everything goes like planned, kind of, and then you are receiving an update and information. How did you feel when you received yours?
As if someone had pulled the floor from underneath my feet. I was quite numb. I took on the information, I remember, and I just took it on, just factual. My husband was in the room as well. He actually fainted, and I'm laughing about it now. But yes, it was this feeling of, does it mean living? If it means living, what type of life? It was, I wouldn't necessarily want to repeat the experience in a hurry.
Did it, I mean, most of the times there's a saying that when someone has such an experience or something similar or whatsoever, that it triggers a self-reflection process in terms of what is important in life, but also being more grounded or grateful, thankful. Did you have the same?
Absolutely. I was never as mindful as when I didn't know what was happening. I remember I saw colors quite vividly. and I took on everything around me quite vividly. I think it was this greediness for whatever I can still soak up until I knew what was happening. Definitely changed perspective. I personally also absolutely don't believe in bucket lists. I think if I hypothetically drop that now, and if I'm happy and I'm happy and content with simplicity in my life, that is actually the peak of contentment and happiness I can come to. I don't necessarily need to go through all sorts of exotic countries, but if I'm just calm, happy in my own mind, that's where I want to be.
How did you feel then when you got the information that you are over it?
That I was over it, very, very happy. It was about 2 months of total agony, 2 months of not knowing. Luckily, after an 11-hour operation, I got the all clear a little bit afterwards. What had helped me a lot was visualizing. So I wanted to know exactly what is happening once I wake up again. I wanted to know all the steps, so I could live it already in my mind. And then it was as if, I was there already. Now I'm waking up. Now the physio is coming. So that helped me a lot. Recovering was hard, but I undercut the target. I was meant to be in hospital for, I think, 3 weeks. I was in there for 2. And I just wanted to bounce back. I remember I had one day in intensive care straight after, and I thought, how on earth am I going to climb mountain again? And I love hiking. I love being in the mountains. And I thought, I can't even stand. And then I was able to walk with the support of my nurses from one side of the room to the next. And then I was absolutely exhausted. And I thought, how do I ever get to this fitness level again? But I found that the mind and the intrinsic motivation to achieve something will get you there. And more or less in no time at all. So I had the operation in November. I came home in December. My husband went back to work in January, and I thought, excellent, he's out of the house. So out come my aerobic stuff, and off I went again. What was actually super inspiring was when my surgeon told me a story about a rugby player who had something similar to me. And this rugby player went off playing rugby 3 months after the operation. So I thought, I don't necessarily want to play rugby, but aerobics will do. So yes, it's definitely this wanting something you feel most comfortable with again. And for me, it was physical exercise.
Yeah. And I mean, personally speaking, egoistically speaking, I'm happy that you overcome it, because otherwise I wouldn't have the chance to meet you and work with you. So thank you for that. Maybe another question. I mean, maybe it has something to do with it. I don't know. But for everyone who doesn't know you, you really love the phrase learning opportunity. Maybe you can enlighten us why that is. Why do you love learning opportunities?
But I'm laughing because you have identified with this expression so much that I was actually thinking, isn't that your expression? But yeah, learning opportunities hang around everywhere. We just need to see them. So I think every interaction with human beings is a learning opportunity. And I find especially, so I'm a great believer in falling flat on your face and then learning from it, because that hurts, that gets you out of your comfort zone. And it to a certain degree forces you to change something. So I think whenever something, let's call it negative, happens, like in an interaction with someone or something doesn't go according to plan, it's this, okay, the ego kicks in and I'm annoyed about it. And I might blame the other person or blame whatever I've been doing. But then there is also this, usually I sleep on it. There is this moment that kicks in where I think, actually, what could I have done differently, or what have I done, or what have I not done, in order to potentially trigger this? And that's where the learning, I find, kicks in very beautifully.
So for everyone, take the learning opportunities as they come. You won't regret it. We are almost at the end of our conversation, Jutta. And there's a question from a previous guest, or from the previous guest for you. How would you describe your experience of taking part in a podcast like this? And what do you hope to get out of it?
What I find most interesting about this podcast, I had not much opportunity to practice. Yes, I roughly knew what we were talking about, but you really put me on the spot and I had to think on my feet. And I think, and that was your plan, that triggers the most honest, spontaneous responses and stories. What I wanted to get out of it, it's a learning opportunity. So I'm going to
so I'm so part of this phrase.
I'm going to reflect about the conversation we have had, and it will haunt me, no doubt. But it's also nice to share stories, and you allowing people to share all sorts of different stories, because other people might get something out of that for themselves. So having been through cancer, I think that just makes one more empathetic, and one learns how to deal with people who are in a very similar situation. So the empathy kicks in yet again.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts, Jutta. Really appreciate it. What question do you want to ask the next person?
It's like in my driving license and my driving test, when it was finished and I was asked, what's the most important button in the car? And I had completely brain free. Actually, what advice would they give to someone who does a podcast with you?
Thank you for the question. As mentioned, Jutta, we are at the end of our conversation. Again, really appreciate it. And thank you also for your openness. I think this is also a rare skill, having this, or being able to talk about certain things openly. I think the basis for this is as well self-reflection and dealing with oneself. And this is most of the hardest things to do, right? So thank you for that. Over to you for the last words.
I think sharing experience is, we gain experience, that's my belief, so we can help others. And if whatever I have shared helps someone else, then I'm very happy.
Perfect. And I would say let's close it with this smile of yours, with this positive mindset, and hope to see you soon again. Thank you for your time.
Super. Thank you very much, Christian.